All right, oligopoly models. I know, they can feel like a total mess, especially when you've got an exam coming up. But hey, don't worry, that's what we're here for. We're going to break it all down, step by step, nice and clear. By the end of this, you'll walk into that exam feeling totally confident. So let's get started with the big puzzle these models are all trying to figure out. You know, the whole challenge of an oligopoly really just comes down to one question. Imagine you're one of just a few big companies in a market. How do you decide what price to set or how much stuff to make? Because here's the thing, whatever you decide is going to hit your rivals, and whatever they decide is going to hit you. It's this strategic puzzle. So how does anyone even make a move? And that right there, that interdependence is what an oligopoly is all about. It's just a market with a few big players where everyone's decisions are all tangled up together. Now, the key phrase you've got to remember, the one that really changes the game, is strategic interaction. See, it's not just about asking, what's best for me? It's about asking, what's best for me, given what I think the other guy is going to do. You got to start thinking like a chess player, planning a few moves ahead. So yeah, this is the big question. Every single company in an oligopoly is constantly asking itself, okay, what's my best move given what I expect my competitor to do? This is basically the heart of game theory, and it's the exact same logic we're going to use to understand all the models we're about to cover. Okay, so here's our game plan. We'll quickly touch on what an oligopoly is, and then I'm going to show you a super simple map to keep the four main models organized. After that, we'll look at competing with quantity, then competing with price, and we'll wrap it all up with a nice summary to get you prepped for the exam. Super clear, super manageable. All right, let's get to it. Time to build our map of the models. Seriously, this thing is a lifesaver for keeping everything straight. If you can just get the logic of this simple grid, trust me, you are already halfway there. So this whole map is built around two big questions. First up, what are the companies competing on? Is it quantity, like how many units to make, or is it price? That's what we have going down the side. The second question is, when do they make their decision? Do they decide at the exact same time, simultaneously, or do they go one after the other, sequentially? That's what we have across the top. And what's cool is that every single model we're going to talk about fits neatly into one of these four boxes. Okay, let's focus in. We're going to start with that top row of our map. This is where companies are competing based on quantity, how much to produce. And that means we're going to be talking about Cournot and Stacekelberg. So, first up, Cournot. Just imagine two companies, right? And they're both trying to decide on their production levels for the next few months. In the world of Cournot, they both have to make their decision and lock it in at the exact same time. And here's the catch. Neither one knows what the other has chosen. It's a simultaneous game, and the weapon is quantity. So how in the world do they decide? Well, they use this thing called a reaction function. Now, I know that sounds kind of technical, but don't let the name scare you. A reaction function is really just a simple plan. It's the answer to that same question we keep coming back to, what's my best move given what the other guy is going to do? It's basically a what-if playbook that says, hey, if my competitor produces this much, then my best move to make the most profit is to produce that much. So that formula you see, it's just firm B saying, my best quantity depends on what firm A does. And the solution, the Cournot equilibrium, is found right where those two reaction functions cross each other. So why there? Well, think about it. At that one specific point, the quantity I'm choosing is the absolute best response to the quantity you're choosing. And at the same time, the quantity you're choosing is the absolute best response to mine. Nobody wants to change their mind. We're both doing the best we can given what the other is doing. It's a stable spot. Okay, so let's stick with quantity competition for a minute, but now we're going to change just one thing, the timing. This brings us to the Stacekelberg model. This is not a simultaneous game anymore. In Stacekelberg, you have a clear leader who gets to make the first move, and then a follower who watches and reacts. And this is a great way to picture it. Imagine IBM is the big, established leader in the market. They get to decide first how many computers they're going to produce. Now, Dell, the follower, gets to just sit back and watch. They see exactly what IBM did, and then they decide how many computers to make in response. See the difference? So if you're the leader, IBM, how do you make your choice? This is where a really cool technique called backwards induction comes in. It's basically about thinking ahead and then working your way back. So here's how it goes. Step 1, IBM has to think like Dell. It has to figure out Dell's reaction function. IBM is asking, okay, how is Dell going to react to any possible quantity I might choose? Step 2. Once IBM knows Dell's entire game plan, now it can pick its own quantity to get the most profit because it already knows exactly how Dell's going to respond. It basically uses Dell's reaction to its own advantage. And then step 3 is easy. IBM makes its move, and Dell just does what its reaction function says to do. And that's our final outcome. All right, let's go back to our map for a second. We've just knocked out the entire top row, all about quantity competition. So now it's time to dive into the bottom row. Here, the weapon of choice is no longer quantity, it's price. Welcome to the world of Bertrand and price leadership. So let's start with Bertrand. This is kind of like Cournot, because both companies are making their decision at the exact same time. But here's the big difference. They're not choosing how much to produce, they're choosing what price to set. And for this to work, we have to assume the products are pretty much identical. Like, think of two gas stations right across the street from each other. And this is where the logic gets, well, pretty brutal. In Bertrand competition, if my price is just 1 penny higher than yours for the same exact product, why would anyone buy from me? They wouldn't. I'd sell nothing. But if my price is 1 penny lower, boom, I get the entire market. You can see how this creates this crazy powerful incentive to just keep undercutting each other. And all this undercutting leads to a really surprising result called the Bertrand paradox. It's called a paradox because, get this, with just two companies, the price war can get so intense that it drives the price all the way down to the marginal cost. The cost of producing one more unit. That's the same result you'd see in a perfectly competitive market with tons of companies. Now, in the real world, this is a pretty extreme outcome, but it shows you just how powerful price competition can be. Okay, on to the last box on our map, price leadership. This is the sequential version of competing on price. So just like in Stacekelberg, we've got a leader, but this time that one dominant company sets the price, and all the smaller firms just kind of follow along and react to it. So how does the leader figure out what price to set? This is the key idea. The leader looks at what's called residual demand. Let's go through that nice and slow. Okay, so at any price, the entire market wants to buy a certain amount. The leader also knows that at that same price, the smaller follower companies will supply some of that demand. So the leader just subtracts what the followers supply from the total market demand. And whatever's left over, the residue, well, that's the leader's private little market. The leader then acts like a monopolist on that leftover slice of the pie, picking the price that makes them the most profit. And that's it. We've made it through all 4 models. So now let's just pull everything together for a final recap. We'll make sure these ideas are really locked in so you feel great for that exam. Here it is again, our map. One last time. Seriously, this little grid is the key to everything. Just remember the 2 questions. Across the top, simultaneous or sequential. Down the side, quantity or price. Cournot, Stacekelberg, Bertrand, price leadership. If you can just draw this grid from memory and put the models in the right boxes, you've already got the main structure down cold. And now for the ultimate exam checklist. Ready? Cournot, simultaneous game, competes on quantity. The key idea? Reaction functions. Stacekelberg, sequential game, competes on quantity. Key idea? First mover advantage. Bertrand, simultaneous game, competes on price. Key idea? Undercutting down to marginal cost. And price leadership, sequential game, competes on price. Key idea? The leader focuses on residual demand. That's it. That's your cheat sheet right there. So, to wrap this all up, here's a final thought to chew on. Ask yourself this question. How does everything change if you only adjust one thing at a time? Like, what's the difference in the outcome when you go from simultaneous Cournot to sequential Stacekelberg? Or when you switch from a quantity game to a price game? If you can really think through those shifts, that's when you know you've truly got this.